The countdown is on. Man's Best Friend is out in less than 2 days from now. We need to go back to where it all started. Let's set the scene. Would you believe me if I said we had to go back until April this year? Until April 1st? Sabrina was on her short and sweet tour. She was on her European leg and she was performing her second night in Copenhagen. Now, if there's something you should know about the short and sweet tour, is that she likes to change up her outfits and she has custom tights with lyrics on them. And they change every night. Naturally, people were predicting what the lyrics were going to be for that night as it was April Fool's. Now, for this particular show, she had a lyric that we hadn't seen before and we thought she was just playing a prank. Now, what was the lyric? I choose to blame your mum. Obviously, we now know that is a lyric from Manchild. If we fast forward to early June, so just a couple months later, we start to see billboards up around America. And we see that these are lyrics for what we now know as Manchild. A couple days later, the music video dropped, and there were a few Easter eggs that people had spotted. We noticed at the timestamp of about 1:24, there is a coffee mug sitting on the table that she is sat at that says, "When did you get hot?" And at roughly 1:09, Sabrina is in a shopping cart attached to a motorcycle, and the license plate says MBF. MBF obviously is short for Man's Best Friend, and When Did You Get Hot is one of the confirmed songs on the album. Now, why did that one get picked to be in the music video? I personally think maybe it's an upcoming single, but interesting to note that it was there. Also, I don't have a note about this, but I do want to mention it. There is a clothesline where there's obviously clothing on it, and there's a shoe, and I think there's a $5 bill on it. We've seen this imagery a few times now, about 4 or 5 different times, and I think there's something there. I don't know what, but there is something there because it's very prominent. I believe it's about a week later on June 12th when Sabrina went live on Instagram, but she was only live for less than a minute. She didn't say anything, but we did see visuals for a few different vinyls. The albums shown on the live were as follows: the original soundtrack by 10cc, Bad Girls by Donna Summer, ABBA by ABBA, Pearl's Songs of Goffin and King by Carole King, The Best of Carly Simon by Carly Simon, Heartbreaker by Dolly Parton, and then she revealed what we now know as the main cover of Man's Best Friend. Obviously, people were speculating what it was because we had no idea, and then I believe it was like an hour later or a few hours later at most when we found out that Man's Best Friend was coming out literally a few months later. The track list reveal was genuinely one of my favorite ideas from any artist that I'm aware of. She got her fans involved. Her social media team reached out to fans that were based in LA and New York and personally, individually invited 10 fans. They all went in on a separate day. They took a photo with a golden retriever and a director's chair, which had the tracklist name embroidered onto the back of it, which was obviously a nod to some of the promotional photos that we've seen previously. These photos were in fact released in reverse order. So we found out the track list from track 12 to 11 to 10 to 9. You get the idea. Why we got it in this order, I'm not sure. I did think it was fun though. And the confirmed track names in reverse order, as we now know: Goodbye, House Tour, Don't Worry, I'll Make You Worry, Go Go Juice, When Did You Get Hot, Never Getting Laid, Nobody's Son, We Almost Broke Up Again Last Night, Sugar Talking, My Man on Willpower, Tears, and Manchild. There's 12 tracks there. Obviously, we already know Manchild, and I said there were 10 fans. So who did the other song? Oh, Sabrina did. Sabrina released her photo for track 2, Tears, which we now know is the next single for Man's Best Friend. I wish I had a screenshot of me speculating this because I genuinely was speculating this at the time that she was in fact gonna have Tears as the next music video or single, I guess. Maybe I talked about it on stream. She announced track 2, which I think is the next single. Earlier this month, Sabrina performed at Lollapalooza. She headlined in Chicago, and at the end of her set, there was a teaser. It was both a visual and an audio snippet. I will give a heads up, these snippets are flashy. I will leave a timestamp down below to tell you what time to jump to if flashing is a trigger, but here are the snippets. We see Sabrina and a faceless man in various different poses, and in between each visual snippet, we see the various different track names, once again in reverse order, which I think is important to note. I'm not sure why, but I feel like it is. Maybe this is one of these albums where you can listen to it top to bottom, but then also bottom to top. We'll come back to this though, trust me. In the last couple of weeks, there were 3 separate listening parties. The 3 different listening parties were hosted in 3 different cities, one in LA, one in New York City, and one in London. The fans that were invited to do the track track list. We're also invited to do a listening party, which I thought was very sweet. I believe it was 5 in LA and 5 in New York, and then they obviously had some other fans too. Fans that were there obviously got to ask her questions, and she obviously talked about the album too. Now, one of the things that she's made note of to the fans face to face and also online, she's made a repeated emphasis of listening to this album from top to bottom. She's posted about it 3 different times now. It has been revealed that they did get some merch for attending the events. In this merch package, there was a Man's Best Friend black t-shirt, a Go-Go Juice flask, a Sabrina Carpenter SC embroidered handkerchief, and a golden SC painted wine glass. Now, this is originally where this video was going to end. However, in the last couple of days, Sabrina has been teasing the next music video, which is going to be for Tears. This music video will be dropping when the album drops, so I believe it's at 2 p.m. on Saturday for me. It's 12 p.m. EST Friday, I believe. You'll find out. And I'll leave a link in the description the second there is a link, trust me. Now, do we remember before when I was talking about Lollapalooza, when there was a snippet that we heard, but we didn't know what it was from? We now know that the Lollapalooza snippet that we heard was in fact for Tears, because it's the same snippet that we're hearing once again. In the first official clip that we saw for Tears, we see the car that we saw at the end of Man-Child, but it's now crashed into a tree. Now, if there's one thing you should know about Sabrina's music videos, she likes to connect them if possible. For example, we have Skinny Dipping into Fast Times, into Because I Liked a Boy, and then obviously Espresso into Please Please Please, and now Man-Child into Tears. Obviously, as fans do, fans have been deciphering the snippets and trying to figure out what the references are, or trying to just find Easter eggs in general. And fans believe they've found 2 references already. One I'm pretty sold on, the second one maybe not so much, but I think it works. 1 being Jennifer's body, and 2 possibly being the house that dripped blood. I have only seen Jennifer's Body, but I saw it years ago. I do know Jennifer's Body is horror-esque, and I've heard that The House That Dripped Blood is also a horror movie as well. These movies both have supernatural/vampire elements to them, along with a bit of mystery and seduction, at least from what I've heard. Now, we've obviously seen Sabrina pull reference from other movies in the past, most notably being Death Becomes Her, being the reference for Taste. We've talked about things that we know 100% are confirmed. We've talked about things that we think might be pulling references, but now let's talk about the actual fun stuff. What do we think the album's going to sound like? Now, there are only 2 official sounds that we know are confirmed to be on the album, Man-Child, and also the tiny snippet that we've heard for Tears. However, I think there's a couple more sounds that could possibly be from the album, but we won't know until it's out, obviously. Now, the snippets that I think that could be on the album, let's talk about those. It's unknown at the moment if they are in fact on the album, and if they are they from the same song or different songs? Now, as far as I can remember, I'm pretty sure we only have 3 different clips, but it's still 3 clips. Actually, I need to correct myself, there's only 2 different clips. So, let's talk about them. On side B of the Man-Child vinyl, there's a track called Inside of Your Head When You've Just Won an Argument with a Man. It starts with an orchestral sound, but then there's a sudden change up. We hear Sabrina, but we can't hear what she's singing or saying. Now, obviously, fans have been trying to work it out. To me personally, it sounds like Take Your Shoes Off, which would make sense because there's a song called House Tour, which I believe is what it could be on, but honestly, who knows? Now, Sabrina's done a collaboration with Dunkin' Donuts in the last year. Now she's done a second one this year for a different mix of drinks. I don't know. I'm not American. They're not for me. However, in the promotional video that we see for it, there's a sound in the background that we don't quite recognize. And I have a running theory that this is in fact When Did You Get Hot? Now, why do I think that? Because in this ad, she's saying, oh, you're hot? I see. To me, the song in the back of this video sounds similar to Bedchem, not the same obviously, but it gives me the same vibe. So if this is in fact one of the songs from the new album, and if this is going to sound similar to Bedchem, I'm very excited because everyone loves Bedchem, right? Sabrina did a short festival run this year. I believe it was only 4 shows. For 2 of these festival shows, she had special guests for Hyde Park in London for the second night when she brought out Duran Duran and they sang Hungry Like the Wolf. And at Lollapalooza in Chicago, she brought out Earth, Wind and Fire, where they performed 2 separate songs. They performed Let's Groove and September. I would also like to note that live stream sucked for it, but I'm still grateful that it was there. Hopefully the next one's better. I believe these collaborations are supposed to be like a little Easter egg for us to realize that this is supposed to be more of an 80s kind of sound for this album, which is very exciting. And I know a lot of people would love for her to go back to more of the R&B kind of sound that she's had previously, plus also mixing in the more of the pop references that she's had lately. Obviously, we'll find out soon, very soon. Also, Also, just before I go, Sabrina will also be featured on Taylor Swift's upcoming album this October 3rd on the title track, The Life of a Showgirl. But that's all I have for now. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think the album's going to sound like. And don't forget to stream the album when it comes out August 29th, this Friday. I'm very excited personally to hear it. I might record my reaction. I won't do like a full face-to-face reaction, but I'll talk about it later if you guys would like. If not, I'll definitely be talking about it when I stream next. So if you're interested in that, check the links down below. I believe that's all I have. Sabrina and your team, if you're watching this, please tour Australia and New Zealand soon. And that's all I have. All right, bye.